to see everybody.
That's great to see you too. Welcome. So this is the November meeting of the Just Transition Subcommittee of the Vermont Climate Council. It's November 16th. We don't have a quorum tonight, so we're going to proceed with the parts of our agenda that we can do without a quorum. And then anyone who missed it can hopefully come back and watch the recording. So the agenda we have is to do our welcome and check-in. We are going to also get a couple of updates and have a time for public comment. That will be around 4:40, and then at 4:45 we're going to have an update on the public engagement process from Consensus Building Institute, and we're looking forward to hearing about that, what they've been up to. We'll have another spot for public comment. Since we have a small group, if that, if things run short, that may or may not be exactly at 5:45, but that's what it's scheduled for, and then a little bit of a closeout. So any questions about the agenda? Yes, Sophie.
I've got a couple of things to share with you all that are just informational, no decision making required. Should I do that at some point?
Yeah, why don't we do that in the update section at it's the 4:15 time, but it's 4:17 now. So yeah, please feel free to jump in. Well, and then the first thing would be, because we're not going to go for do the minutes from the last time, to welcome you, Sophie, as the new member of the Climate Action Office. And I think most of us who have been sitting on this call got a little bit of an intro, but if you wanted to just, say hi and give us a little bit of background, that'd be great.
Sure. My name is Sophie. My main sort of professional background is in land trust communications. I'm at my home in Woodbury, Vermont right now, which sits in between the Woodbury Mountain and the headwaters of the Winooski and Lamoille, where I live on some land with my friends. You also, if I'm unmuted, you might hear my dog whining for my attention in the background. So I apologize for that in advance. I've been at the Climate Action Office for 2 months, getting to know Kashka and her team's work closely, and getting to know the other work of the agency that's climate related and how our office can support that. And lots more learning ahead. I'm looking forward to supporting your subcommittee, and I'm especially enthusiastic about the work that you all are doing, and really loved reading the guiding principles document, and I'm excited to see that put into action.
Wonderful, thank you. And I think some of us have met you already, but maybe we could go around and do a quick round of introductions, especially for those who haven't met Sophie. And then I also see, I think, Stephen, I see you here as a member of the public. You're welcome to drop in the chat. Assuming you are a member of the public, you're welcome to drop something in the chat about yourself and introduce yourself. And we'll have time for public comment later, but it's a small group. So, but yeah, Anna, did you want to introduce yourself? Because I don't know that you've met Sophie before. And then Paula, I know, and then Danielle, did you get to meet Sophie a couple times ago? Okay, so you three for sure, and then the rest of us could just go around and say quick intro, if that sounds okay. So Anna, go ahead.
My introduction is she, her. I don't know what pieces of information to share with you in this particular introduction. I work in a nonprofit. I organize Pride, and when you said you're excited to see us put those principles into action, I have to admit the flippant side of me was like, me too. So we'll look forward to doing that together.
Yeah, that's good enough. I like that. Yeah, Paula, do you want to, and yeah, just basically your name and what your background is, why you're here, how long you've been here, any of that stuff that you think is relevant. Go ahead, Paula.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Paula. My day job is working at a company called Building Green. We do a few things, but the part I'm most involved with is online publishing. Most of our readers are architects, urban planners, that kind of people. And it's about, not just carbon, not just environmental stuff, but also the social side of, environmental justice and climate justice. And that is kind of how I came to be on the Climate Council, in addition to being a member of Representative Town Meeting in Brattleboro, where I live, which is why I am the representative of municipalities on the Climate Council. And I also serve on the Rural Adaptation and Resilience, Rural Resilience and Adaptation Subcommittee as well. So that's me.
Awesome, thank you. And then Danielle, and then the rest of us can do like a more brief one since we've met Sophie.
I'm Danielle Bombardier. I'm a union electrician, and I'm here as a labor representative. I'm on the executive committee of the Vermont AFL-CIO, and I've been on Just Transition since early, few years now.
Thank you. I'll just go and call folks out to just do a quick introduction for anyone else who might not know you. So Mona, do you want to do a quick intro, just who you are, how long you've been here?
Sure. My name is Mona Tolba, and I work for VDH, but I'm actually in this council as a member of the marginalized community, not as a VDH.
And you've been working with this subcommittee for several years also, I think.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Nice to see all of you.
Carrie, you can go next, and then Kashka, and I did see that Stephen, thanks for dropping something in the chat to introduce yourself.
Hi, Sophie. I'm Carrie Hengstenberg. We've met before. I work at the Department of Environmental Conservation as the planning manager. Yeah, and I have been working with this team for a while, few years, I don't know. I can't lose track of time. Hi, Paula.
Hi, I just wanted to say this is only my second JTSC meeting, and I joined the Climate Council in February.
I totally forgot. I missed that you didn't say that because it's like in my head, I know that thing. Kashka, why don't you do a quick intro, and then Stephen also, I'd love to let you just turn on your camera or if you want to, but I think you might have been invited by Chase based on what you're here for. So anyway, and there will be time later. Go ahead, Kashka.
Hi, nice to see everybody again. So my name is Kashka Orlo. I use she, her pronouns, and I had been on the Just Transition Subcommittee since almost the very beginning. And while there, I was asked to come on board with Consensus Building Institute, which has the we're doing the community engagement right now. We have bid for to do community engagement for the Climate Action Office, and that's what I will be talking about today. So I'm really happy to be here and see all these faces that I haven't seen in so long. Hi, you guys.
Hello, it's nice to see you.
Mona.
Hi, Stephen. Yes. Feel free if you wanted to do a verbal introduction. I know it's a very small group, and since you had your camera off, I wasn't sure, but did Chase invite you to come join us tonight? Or is
Chase did not invite me to come tonight. I do know him, however, but
okay.
No, I am, as I mentioned in the comment, I'm with the Transnational Partnership for Environmental Law. And I was actually made aware of this, and we've been looking into it, like researching the Vermont Climate Council and specifically the Just Transition Subcommittee. And that was through Christina Ramsey and Julie O are the two whom I know Christina's working with. I don't know whom, but it's a Schweitzer Fellowship that's working with it somehow. we're all very busy, so we never have any idea what we're actually doing.
Well, welcome. No, I'm so glad you're here. And so Chase is involved in environmental law, and so he had mentioned that he'd been talking to some folks. So I definitely, but we're always welcoming folks from the public. So I appreciate you being here, and you're absolutely welcome to listen in. And then, yeah, we do have several things in our agenda for more public comment. And maybe I should introduce myself. I'm Kelly Klein. I am a small business owner up in Franklin County, Vermont. I am the small business community representative for the Vermont Climate Council, which I've been doing now for over 3 years because I just got reappointed. So that means it's been 3 years. I'm also, in addition to being a co-chair of this subcommittee, I am on the steering committee for the Climate Council. Just started doing that a little while ago. So been involved in all of that and learning a lot and loving to get to meet and work with some really cool people. And with that, let's move into a couple of updates, and let's see, I'm just going to keep track of time. So we talked a little bit maybe before the recording started, but we've been low on quorum for the last little while. We've had some weird meetings at different times, so that also can mess up people's schedules. I totally understand that. But we were also talking a little bit about having more of a focus on getting information, having that space for us to talk and share and learn together at our meetings. And anything that's more process oriented or like doing work, trying to have that be a smaller group that can do that outside of meetings. And so one of the pieces of work that we wanted to do was, we have those just transition guiding principles, we have this rubric, but we want to help make sure that that's actually being used by other groups within the Climate Council. How do we support them? And how do we, and it seemed like it would help if we had some sort of companion that was sort of, here's how we hope you use these things, like a user manual for these things. It wasn't enough to just write them. We needed something to go with that. Setting expectations about what we want people to do on their own and what we can offer if they want to come to us and what they should provide ahead of time, etc. But rather than trying to do that in a larger group, we want to have a smaller group of folks try to put that together and then bring it back to this group for feedback and approval. So that's something we'd like to work on. At our last not really official meeting, because we didn't have quorum, we had several folks interested. Mona was somebody who was interested in helping with that. Virginie was interested, but anyone who is interested, so long as it's not a whole, so long as it's less than half of our subcommittee, we can work together off of the public meeting thing and try to put something together, and it'll be a little bit more agile that way. But obviously we still want transparency. So whatever we're working on, we're going to bring it back and make sure that everybody gets a chance to review it and comment and all of that. But that's hopefully so that these meetings can be used for us to really connect, learn, get information like what we're going to get today from Kashka and David from CBI, like what they've been working on, and really take that in, and also have more space to hear from the public and just not have cram-packed meetings where we're trying to get through too many things. So that's our hope for this subcommittee, and hopefully that feels good to folks. What I would suggest is, unless there are questions at the moment about what I just said, anyone who's interested in working on something for helping with like the guiding principles thing, yeah, dropping it in the chat, or writing afterwards, just writing to me and Abby, we can organize that. Questions about what I just said, or does that all make sense? Yeah, thumbs up, I like that. Cool. So yeah, we can follow up afterwards, and we'll set up a time for anyone who's interested in getting some working on that process stuff. We can set up a time for that. And as far as like the open meeting law thing goes, we just need to have it be less than half of our subcommittee, and that'll make it work better, more agile, as I said. We got a little bit, but I don't know if that was before we started. We have new climate council members and things. So if we do want to go through that, because I'm not sure everyone was here, and I'm pretty sure we didn't have the recording going. Did you have that update about the new members and everything? That'd be awesome.
Yep. So 3 seats turned over with recent Senate reappointments to subcommittees. The one that will be relevant for this subcommittee is the seat that represents Vermont Community Action Partnerships. It was vacant, and before that, Sue Minter was filling that seat. Now, Denise Bailey, who works for Capstone Community Action here in Central Vermont, is in that seat. She is the director of equity, engagement, and advocacy there. So she will be part of this subcommittee.
Are you showing her your?
I don't know if I was able to hear all of that.
Mona, did you have a question? We couldn't hear you if you did. And if so, you
No, I'm sorry. My mic was on.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Thank you.
Nice.
And Sophie, was that? Yes. So yes, we have a new member who's also a member of the council, climate council. So that makes 3 of us with Paula and me. Was there more, Sophie, about anything other? Like, we're hoping to get more members also and reach out to current members and make sure that they're on board. Was there anything else, Sophie, that
Yeah.
came out of the meeting today, or in your other updates? Go ahead, just roll with it.
Sure. So subcommittee seats are up for reappointment in January. That's true across the board for all Vermont Climate Council subcommittees. Everybody is welcome to stay on, and the Climate Action Office will support sort of like sending out an official question just to say like, hey, do you want to keep on, or are you intending to step down? Everybody's welcome to stay on, and that's great. And sorry about my dog. Based on how many vacancy seats we have, we can mirror a recruitment process similar to when subcommittees were initially set up. And the Climate Action Office can support this administratively. Just a reminder that the terms for subcommittees are 3 years long. That doesn't mean that people can't like come and go in between. Like, it doesn't have to be exactly on 3 years. People can be appointed outside of like a set 3-year schedule or leave. And all of that information is in the governance document, which is still in draft form, but is fairly comprehensive. And I realized today when preparing for this meeting that the version that we have, the version on the website is from August, and there's a more recent version. So I just put that on the website. I'm going to post the link in the chat. It's mostly, there are some changes, but specifically in the subcommittee section, there's really not any substantive changes. So I'll put that link in the chat now, and that's on the climatechange.vermont.gov website in the resources section.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
Can I just ask a follow-up? Because I think maybe I zoned out for a minute. The subcommittee seats. So that's this subcommittee is up for reappointment? Is
all of them.
All of the subcommittees. Yeah.
Yeah, but that includes this one and the people.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyone who's been on this subcommittee, you get this is sort of the opportunity where it's officially asked, do you want to stay on the subcommittee? And that's at the end of the calendar year, right, Sophie?
I thought it was in January.
Oh, yeah, well, like December 31st or is
Oh.
there like a date in January?
I actually don't know the answer to that question right now.
I think my thought was that it was the end of the calendar. Anyway, so it's close enough. But you know, before our January meeting, do you want to stay on this subcommittee? Do you want to step down? And we want to know that so that we can fill those seats. We also have open seats as well. And as Sophie said, it's not like we're strict where we're going to be like, you didn't stay for your 3-year term or anything like that. It's just, but this is like at a formal time when we go and ask everybody. And this is a little bit of a new process because the Climate Council is also only about 3 years running. So we haven't really done this until now. So we're working through it. But that link, I'm going to open that up because the most recent one here is going to be helpful. This is like the official, slightly updated, maybe still getting updates, guidance document for the Climate Council and how we're going to operate. And this is where it talks about terms for subcommittee members, because I don't know that was spelled out very clearly prior to this. So anyway, that's just something to know about, think about. Are there any questions about that?
Kelly,
Yeah.
Kashka asked in the chat
Oh.
who she should direct someone who might be interested in joining.
Oh, great. Thank you. I had just closed it.
Hopefully that's a question that the answer will help all of us.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So the official approval process is that it will go.
What you're doing? You just want me to go back. I'm sick.
Hey, Carrie, can you move?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I'm likely to do that.
The working at home.
I know. I think we all have a lot of distractions going on tonight. Dogs, employees, children, I don't know. We welcome them all. So yes, there's a nomination form and a process. It's also, we love with this subcommittee, we love to have people, you know, come and meet us and let us meet them. The official approval will come from the steering committee of the Climate Council, but I think that our subcommittee saying we want this person on our subcommittee would be, I think that goes a long way. So that's sort of my unofficial kind of, I think it's helpful. And so people who are interested can go through the nomination form, but they can also, I think, reach out to the co-chairs, and that just like alerts that they're particularly interested. Does that, Sophie, am I speaking out of turn, or is that? Yeah.
So
that good?
can I give him somebody's email, or should I let him know to come to a meeting, or?
So there's a nomination form. Is it not up yet, Sophie? Do you know do we have a link for the nomination form yet?
I'm unaware of any.
Okay, so for now, Kashka, anyone who's interested, I'm gonna drop in, give me a minute to make sure I get, Abby, Chase, and I are the co-chairs. I'm gonna drop in our emails in the group chat, and that would be the first place, just so that we can come back and let them know when there is an official nomination form. Thanks. I'll drop that in the chat. Give me a second. Sophie, if you have more updates, or if other people have questions, but if there are questions that I need to attend to, I'm going to be a little bit divided.
Yes, I just have, can you please send the nomination form through the email, because we don't have access to the chat after we hang up from this meeting. We don't have any access to the chat, so I need the nomination form because I have some people on mind that they might be interested.
Yes, thank you. That's a great point.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll make a note to also send a follow-up email with just, I mean, if you have our email, Chase and Abby and me, or any of us, and you send that to them, that's great. So if you just, just transition co-chairs, that's great. But I'll also make a note to send a follow-up email with more info about that. Thanks, Mona. Yeah, I lose those meeting chats also.
Kelly, can you include me on that email, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm going to write those notes now before I lose it. Sophie, did you have any other updates? I think you did, right?
Yeah, just some FYIs. Jane asked me to share with you all that a smaller group who's been working on work planning for the Climate Council has been chugging along with that. They're sharing their work with the steering committee and wanted to flag for you all that there will likely be an all-day meeting happening in January for the Climate Council, and subcommittee members are welcome to attend that. It will serve to catch everybody up on what's occurred since the adoption of the last climate action plan and where we are now with that, and strive to get us all on the same page as we prepare for planning for the next CAP, which is due July 1st, 2025. The other thing I just wanted to flag for folks, since we were just onboarding some new counselors, is that for the per diem process, folks are eligible for a per diem when they come and sit on this subcommittee as you're assigned to it. And I will be taking over the administration of that. So I think Marion used to handle that. So now you can email me with your requests for per diem. If you're able to copy Jane as well, that's great. If you forget, that's fine. If you haven't done this before or it's been a while, I'm happy to hop on the phone with you and go through the process together. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I'm not sure if everybody has access to my email yet, Kelly. I can put it in the chat, but I'm cognizant that people won't have access to it afterwards. I'll put it in the chat now, and then maybe Kelly will connect us over email on the next just transitions agenda send around. And then one final, oh, thanks, Carrie. Okay, Carrie's going to put it in the meeting notes. One final sort of update on things to come is that we are beginning outreach for this opportunity for federal funds that can really have a big influx of money towards Vermont if we get them on climate actions. And we're having some public engagement events around those. There's going to be 2 that are virtual. Those are December 11th and 12th. There's also going to be one that's focused on the Vermont Climate Council and subcommittees. So maybe we can put that in the notes or follow up with that meeting information. We'd love to have you there. And we'll be sharing more information about this funding opportunity and getting folks' input and feedback on what they'd like to see lifted up for that funding. I think that's it.
Thanks. Great. I did try to drop some things in the chat. Yep, and yours is there too. But we'll send a follow-up email to everybody and we'll include you, Kashka. Great, thank you. Any questions or anything before we move into public comment? And then on to, we have David here. Thanks for being here, David. Questions or comments from the subcommittee or folks? Cool. And then, yeah, public comment. I mean, Stephen, you're welcome, not to call you out, but you're welcome if you have comments or questions now, or if you'd like, we'll have another public comment session after David and Kashka talk about the public engagement process. So if that seems like more fitting with what you had questions or comments about, you're welcome to hold off or you can talk both times.
Well, as to the questions I have, actually several of them already been answered. So I think I'll just hold off any I have until after everything, because it may be that all of them actually get answered without me actually physically asking one, which would be really easy from my perspective.
Amazing. Love that. Yeah. So yes, please. But yes, there will be time. So no worries there. And then, yeah, so David, Kashka did a little bit of an introduction. Welcome. Thank you for being here, David. If you wanted to do a bit of an introduction as well, and then I'll let you guys take it from there.
Super. I know almost everyone on this call, but I don't know everybody. So for those of you I haven't met, my name is David Plum, and I've been helping for the last few years to facilitate conversations for the Vermont Climate Council and for subcommittees. And along with the team in Vermont, we're also helping to do public engagement. So Kashka's mentioned that. She's got a nice little presentation here. I'm not going to say much more to say it's very exciting to be actually out there doing stuff, right? So Kashka and Indra, who many of you know, are really leading that with another colleague, Ann Nelson Stoner, who some of you might have met. And the three of them are fantastic. So Kashka's got like 7 or 8 slides. They're mostly pictures. And so we wanted to walk through that and then just have a conversation, because this subcommittee really is one of the key subcommittees to help guide public engagement around climate action and the Climate Council stuff. So we're really happy to have the conversation. So let me pull up those slides and let's see if I can do this.
And David, real quick, you weren't here. We don't technically have a quorum, but we're recording it because we knew that people probably want to see this, and we definitely didn't want to put off this wonderful presentation. So just
great.
FYI.
That's fine. And I think because this isn't like a decision moment, right?
Exactly.
It's more of a,
yeah. The only thing we
providing
didn't
advice.
do was approving the minutes from last time. So, but I just wanted to make sure you know. So thank you. All right, go for it.
All right, Kashka, take it away. Turn to me whenever you want some break. But Kashka, feel free to just dive in here.
All right, thanks so much, David. And yeah, I have to tell you guys, I'm really, really thrilled to be doing this, especially because it's something that we've discussed on Just Transitions since the beginning, since the onset. How do we reach frontline communities and get them engaged in this work? And I do realize that, you know, we've had other groups come through and do engagement work, but we really wanted to start with, how do we engage with frontline communities? How do we begin this process? So that was the question that plagued us, and this is what we came up with. So the onset of summer 2023, we decided to basically, it was myself, Ann Nelson Stoner, who is not here, who's wonderful as well, and Indra. We decided to just get out there and talk to people. It's exactly what Mona and I have talked about Just Transitions for quite some time. So that's what we did. We attended events and spoke to people and wanted to gauge their feelings about how they engage with, you know, with government officials, with things that are going on in the legislature, with, do they know about the climate action plan? Do they, you know, have they been affected by climate? And so some of the events that we attended, Juneteenth celebration, Community Day at Oakledge Park, community building at Battery Park, which was an ongoing every Tuesday, which everyone's invited to if you're around. It's basically, sorry, that's my dog. Basically a way to get community together with food and music, and everybody's welcome. Another event was Antique Flea Market in Quechee, Vermont, which was like a little bit more of a rural setting. And then we have King Street Laundry, which Ann Nelson Stoner attended. There's also a jamboree at Essex High School. So high school students were engaged and you know, having conversations regarding this. There was also an equity meeting in Winooski, where I saw Mona, and the Abenaki Land Link Festival was another. So quite a few events attended that were basically just, you know, having conversations and seeing where everybody's temperature's at. And we did end up tabling 5 events since August. I think it was end of August. And we'll talk more in detail about those. But we have the 5th annual Vermont First African Landing Day. Then we have the second event was Neurodivergent Gathering. in Montpelier. The third was Indigenous Peoples Day Rocks. Fourth, Hispanic and Latino Heritage Celebration. And the final event that we've done so far was the Abolition and Revolution film screening for Vermont Freedom Fund. So the way that we decided to do this work with frontline communities and do engagement work with them is, instead of doing something that has been done in the past, which is a virtual meeting, a Zoom meeting, or even an in-person event specifically geared towards climate action or climate related issues, what we decided to do is piggyback on existing events that were happening. So imagine, people or the community is already showing up to an event like the 5th annual Vermont First African Landing Day. And there's food and there's vendors and there's lots of stuff going on. And what we ended up doing is bringing our own table. As you can see from the slide, we have, flyers and information, and we have a sign-up sheet. So just in the event that somebody's interested in hearing more or interested in being contacted by the Climate Action Office, we have the ability to take their information and, have them be part of our little database here. So that's how it started. And that's how we started doing the work. And I think so far it's been really successful. But as we've talked in Just Transitions, it's something that needs to be ongoing. And there's a slide at the end that you'll see. But what we have found is that, there's a lot of distrust in government. There's confusion about the programs. There's confusion about how things are done. And specifically in frontline communities, time is of the essence. So asking people to attend meetings or things that are just not in their immediate scope of interest at the time is not only difficult, but it's just asking a lot of people who don't typically have that time to spend on various things. Okay, we can go to slide 2.
Yeah, why don't we can go perhaps a little more briskly through the slides, and then I'd love to have a conversation with these folks about all this.
Yeah.
Did I jump forward too far? Hang on a second. Nope, here we go. Got it.
Okay, so this is just on some of the events that we attended or that we tabled at, joining existing events, this was the 5th annual Vermont First African Landing Day. The types of things that we're hearing at these events, we're going to go through the slides. There's Anne at our table, and it was a great turnout. It was a great day. But there's a lot of skepticism about government action around climate change issues, and a feeling by some that they have not been taken into consideration. And there's certainly opportunities for the state to do more and continue grant programs for weatherization efficiency, and consider ways to reduce upfront costs for those folks that really either don't qualify for loans, which sometimes you can't get these incentives unless you qualify for a loan. So there's all kinds of things that we've been hearing, and that's where you're going to see on the slides, but you can see some photos from the event. We can go to slide 3.
I'll also just compliment this, Kashka, to say, I hope all of you received, we're doing quarterly synthesis of what we're hearing. So Kashka's done a nice job of pulling out a couple of really key ideas. That quarterly synthesis probably ended up in your email, your inbox. And we're going to keep doing that. We're going to do that in ways that are more accessible as a web-based thing. So stay tuned for that, because we really want to be creating this sort of, regular check-in of what we're hearing through all the different activities that are going on. So it can influence the Climate Council and it can influence others. Super.
Yeah. Yeah, and we really want to hear your comments, your thoughts, or even show up at any of these events. We're going to be, so we've been talking with Sophie and how to better bring together, all the subcommittees and, gather as many people that have interest in showing up as much as they can, because this is how we're going to do this. This is how we're going to make sure that the guiding principles are being put into play within government. So this is from the neurodivergent gathering, which was in Montpelier that Indra and Sophie attended. And some of the things that were put up on the boards, people were really interested in hearing more. And I think they got a lot of good feedback. What we are hearing are doubts about EVs as a transportation solution, urging more action on public and multimodal transportation, as well as habit changes, and then get more people involved, including youth and faith communities. And we can keep going. Next slide, please.
Kashka, I have just a question regarding what they said about the report that he's going to be sending for us. Are the people also that you're doing, you collected information when you are there, collecting emails probably, or some kind of communication? Are they going to be also informed through this,
quarterly report?
Yes.
That's a great question.
That's a really good question. Maybe there should be. Why not?
They should.
Yeah, I love it.
Why
I love
not?
it, Mona. Yeah. So Mona, we've collected, say, I don't know, several dozen names and emails of people who said, we want more information. Please keep us involved, right? And so what we're doing with those emails right now has been very little. And we're going to start inviting them to events like the what's coming up in December on the Priority Climate Action Plan piece. And we were going to create some other types of activities as well for those folks. And I love your idea of also pushing out to them saying, hey, here's our quarterly summary of everything going on.
Yes, because I think it is good for them to see, what other people also are thinking. And it's really good education for them too.
Love it.
Yeah, we've got that on our list for the major themes that are going to go into that newsletter. It's still in development, and we're talking closely with the Environmental Justice Office on that as well, but definitely sharing the quarterly report in addition to the audio and video that David and Kashka and Indra are getting is going to be important for closing the loop.
Right.
Yeah. Thanks, Sophie.
No.
And here are some photos from the, are we on the, Indigenous Peoples Day Rocks in Stowe. That was a great event as well. And, what we were hearing is use native wisdom to help identify sustainable solutions, which I think it would be beneficial for us to really listen to the wisdom of the elders and of the native tribes to see how we can better protect ourselves, build resilience, and continue helping Vermonters and the world, hopefully. Yeah. And also get more people involved, including youth and faith communities. Yeah, that's okay. We can just keep going because this is just basically so you guys can see some of the pictures and how we do the tabling and how it's set up.
You'll notice that we don't have pictures of people, and because we were sloppy initially and didn't get releases we have actual photographs with people's faces and stuff, but we don't have releases to use them. So we are going to be, that was my fault. We'll be better in the future to make sure that we can capture people and all the people interactions that we've been having. We need to be thoughtful. We can't do that without a release.
Kashka, David, I saw that Paula had raised a hand, so I didn't want to breeze ahead if you're willing to take her question.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So I can't really see. Yeah, go ahead.
That's why I said something, because I realized you probably couldn't see Paula's hand.
Thank
Right.
you.
Okay, so I was just going to mention back on the Indigenous Peoples Day event you were at that I don't know if you saw the Biden administration had released a national resilience framework, and there's like a ton of stuff in there, and also it's like, you know, nothing that's actionable right now, but they are looking really seriously at this kind of idea of native wisdom as part of resilience
Really?
and nature-based solutions. So I just, you know, there might be like guidance or guiding principles or something from even the federal government about ways to do that kind of work, if that would be helpful.
Oh my gosh, yes. I love it. I love it. That's what we have to do. We really, and if we don't, you know, if we're not out there talking to people, and I'm glad to hear that the Biden administration did that. That's but again, it has to be actionable. It has to continue, and we have to see how it's going to be implemented. You know, it can't just be talk. And this is something that we've talked about like in Just Transitions for forever. You know, we really have to follow it up by action. So it's one thing to, you know, gather all this information from all these incredible folks who are willing to talk to us, but what are we going to do with that information, right? Oh my gosh, my kid is calling in. No.
Okay. Whenever you need to drop, Kasha, just let me know. We can did we lose her? I think her kid won that battle. Okay. All right, I'll keep going. So these are other things where Kashka and Indra and Anne have tabled. Again, getting a lot of input. And there's some ideas here on the slide. And here's some quotes that, you know, Kashka thought would be helpful to put out there, and Kashka, I'll let you speak to them. But I think we're really trying to gather voices. And you may have seen in the email about that quarterly report that one of the things we're going to start doing is actually recording people's voices and use little snippets of people's own voice and embed that into a quarterly report that's online, right? And so it's like you let people speak for themselves. We can do a little of that with video too. Voice is even easier than video, but you can do any of them. So hopefully you'll start seeing that from us. The wintertime has less events than say the summer fall. So there's probably going to be less of this kind of event. And we're going to talk a little bit about the priorities going into the winter. But we're going to just keep trying to find ways of lifting up voices and putting those out there and trying to make that part of the conversation in the Climate Council, at the Climate Action Office, and elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, there's so many incredible responses. There's so many ideas. There's so many thoughts on resiliency. These are just obviously, what is it? Five that I put up here, but it was so hard to come up with even these five because
I forced Kashka to like go down from the 20 she wanted to show you. I was like, no.
There's so many, and it's just incredible. Like we're all so thoughtful about this. But here are just a few. Obviously, state programs are difficult to learn about and hard to navigate. They need to do a better job of getting the word out about services and providing clear assistance throughout navigating the system. Mail out information to everyone's address. So older Vermonters, people from frontline communities, you know, climate refugees or others, new Americans, it's really difficult to navigate these programs for somebody who's in it, you know, who works in it, who's working around these programs. It's hard enough for, you know, college educated person to navigate all these programs. But what about all these other folks? So the state really needs to do a better job of trying to, you know, make sure that frontline community members are not being left behind. Anyway, let's just keep going. So
yeah, and I don't think Kashka would need to read all of them. I think folks can see them on the screen.
You guys can see them?
Yeah. So if anybody has a question for Kashka about one of them, you're like, whoa, what's that all about? This is a good time to say, what does that quote mean? So if anybody has a question.
Yeah. Thank you, David.
No problem. All right. We can come back if you need to. So the final slide or final two slides we have this is a kind of lessons learned that Kashka put together. I love it. Kashka, you can walk us through this?
How do we do authentic community engagement that reaches from communities?
Yeah.
So this is something that, again, has, had me thinking from Just Transitions and from all the meetings, and from all of us talking. And we continue to meet those folks where they are. Hence, that's why we decided to piggyback off of existing events. We need to show up consistently. Showing up once a year and then saying thanks, see you later is not going to work. It's not going to build trust or rebuild trust where it has been broken. Ask questions, listen, and report. So that's something that we're still working on with the Climate Action Office. And, we're really adamant about making sure that the final step is realized, which is like the reporting and who knows about this, who hears these voices. And just like David was telling all of you, not just the quarterly report, but what is being done with this information and how is it being used? And I think you guys are, talking about the same thing with the guiding principles. Also, another thing we've heard, well, you can read the rest, don't waste their time, have something to say. Don't be put off when people are going to be nasty and letting you know exactly how they feel right to your face. Don't be put off by that. Just listen. And bring them information that will benefit them and their community. That's really important. And their voices matter, right? All of our voices matter. And especially those voices that aren't typically being heard. So that's our engagement motto.
Yeah, we try to live by that in what we're doing.
Yeah.
This is what's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say a few things and then Kashka, help me out.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple things that are going to happen. One, these initial sort of meeting people where they are was very broad-based topically. It's sort of like very broad-based, both from like what climate impacts are you feeling towards, your thoughts on various things. And so we didn't try to steer the conversation really. We're going to have a sharper focus going forward because specific things are going to come up, right? The Climate Action Office is making progress on that federal funding priorities through their priority climate action plan. That's going to start to be part of the topically what we work on. The Climate Council is going to start to say, hey, we're leaning into these kinds of topics. It would be great to start talking to people about those topics. We're going to be responsive to that. So you'll start to see more specificity in the kinds of topics we're working on to be responsive to what the decisions are up at the state level at the Climate Action Office or the Climate Council or others. So expect that from us. And the other thing I'll mention is we're going to do different modalities. So we've been doing a lot of showing up at other people's events, which is great. As I mentioned, the winter's a little quieter for that. We're also going to proactively be out doing stuff. The small group conversations, been talking to Mona about this for a long time. We will do it. There's been a delay in making it happen, but we're going to do some focus group type small group conversations, particularly starting off with folks who don't have English as their first language. So we're going to be doing that with Somali, French, Nepali, Arabic, Spanish speakers. So look forward to that early next year, and we'll get that off the ground. We look forward to those. And we'll be doing public meetings, the December ones that Sophie mentioned. We'll be supporting those and making those as interactive as possible. And Indra is gathering a really interesting group of community-based organizations sometime later this year in an initial conversation about climate action and community-based organizations. So those are the kinds of things you can expect from us going forward, in addition to continue to show up at other people's events and just be present and talk. Kashka, what did I miss?
No, I think you did great.
Okay.
I think you got it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to see what people are thinking and feeling and any questions anyone has. And
Let me drop the slide so we can see each other again. So as you hear Kashka talk about the work, You hear me try to explain it as well. So how is this landing? How is this fitting with the vision of this Just Transition Subcommittee about the kinds of engagement that should be happening?
And really just opening it up to anybody. I think it's a small enough group. Feel free to unmute. And that includes our guest also, Stephen.
Glad to see that it's happening at all. Many things I have heard talked about at more than one meeting in action by Kashka. So good.
I know, I'm happy to, Anna. I'm happy to.
It's been a while. It's been a long time coming. I'm glad you're out there. Feels like
Yeah.
traction.
Yeah, we really have to get out there. I mean, otherwise, just like you were all saying, like, what's happening with this document, right? Like, is anyone, with the guiding principles, like, it's got to be in front of people. Like, how do we talk to the other committees and making sure, and it's just the same thing. Yeah, it's got to get out there. Yep. Any other questions or comments, or what we could be doing better? Suggestions? We're totally open to it.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, regarding the youth, are you connecting with any youth organizations, or how you are involving the youth in such good information, and so they can become aware when they are adult or they have their own homes and stuff like this, because this is very important. You have to put this, to instill this in the kids since they are young, so
yeah,
reach out to my idea is like, reach out to the school, and do tabling at the school event and take some cool stuff regarding the like the kids that they like small stuff that you can actually show them, some experiments you can do about climate or anything that to grab their attention and to teach them from now about climate action and what they're supposed to be doing.
So I think that's a really great idea, Mona. I was invited to speak to a few classes at Edmonds, and we were kind of waiting on Sophie getting into the climate action office and to get going on things. But as David was saying, we're now getting into more of like specific things, and specific and topics that we can talk about. And what I have found when speaking with the youth, with young people, they need more of a specific focus. Otherwise, when you start talking about it, it gets a little bit lost in translation. And I don't mean translation, but it's too broad of a topic. It's too ethereal in a sense. So it has to be more focused. So we are kind of waiting on trying to get a better plan on how to tackle that, but that's in the works. And I think it's important. I think the more young people would understand how this whole process works, how even just civic engagement, right? Because it's just not being taught really in schools anymore. I don't know why. But even that of how, this subcommittee, or how the climate action, how the Climate Council and how the Climate Action Office are engaged in this work for the state of Vermont, and how youth can be more involved in that. So I think it's a huge learning opportunity, not just for us to hear what the young people are thinking and feeling, but for them as well. So I think that's a great idea. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Kasia. And one question regarding some community on marginalized communities, that they don't have trust in the government, and they actually, sometimes you don't welcome us as a government to be in their spaces. So what do you do to overcome this? And how do you envision building the trust with these people? Because these people, we have to acknowledge the harm is done for them.
Yeah.
What do you do actually to show them, yes, we are responsible for what happened to you, not as a government, not as a person or people, So how do you build this trust or gain this trust, and how do you show them, yes, we really, know how hurt you are, from all the policies and all what we did for you, how do you acknowledge harm, and how do you rebuild the trust with these people?
That is like the $50 million question, right? And actually that's why we started doing this work the way that we started doing it. I think that to rebuild trust, which is so broken in marginalized communities, you're absolutely right, and for good reason. The way I think, or the way that so far that we've seen it can be rebuilt, is by showing up in the community, right? Taking off any kind of I mean, obviously I'm not a political person by any means, but just taking off whatever hat you're wearing and just being part of the community, and listening to those responses that might hit you in a way that feels like a personal attack or some kind of attack. That it's not. It's just a way for somebody to vent and let you know how they've been let down by by programs or the government or legislators or whatever it may be, and just allow them to have their voice, allow them to speak. It's not a personal attack. It's just a way for them to connect. And I think those comments are just as important as the other comments regarding regarding resiliency or anything to do with climate. I think we need to make sure that those comments are being heard, because the only way that we're going to make sure that it doesn't happen in the future is if we're allowing these people to connect with the people in government that have hurt them, in a sense, and say, hey, you know what, this is how we're going to change things going forward. So we are going to show up at your events or in the community. We're going to show up consistently and not stop showing up. We are going to connect you with the people who can answer your questions better, because I certainly am not a science or data kind of person, or happen to know a ton about any of these programs or trying to navigate these systems. So trying to connect them and having a way to connecting them with those folks that can answer their questions, and making sure that those folks at the end will show up and answer those questions, and not run and hide because somebody has something negative to say. So showing up at the events, showing up consistently, and what we have done, like I said, is piggyback off of existing events that are going on, so that we're not, just like you said, they're not going to come to a government meeting. Why the heck are they going to do that? Like, please. So we showed up at already existing events, and that's how we spoke to folks that typically we would not see at any of these meetings ever. So I think that's the way to rebuild it.
Yeah, Kashka, that's awesome. Yeah, we have a couple people with hands up, and I think you said it, building trust by being there, meeting people where they are, and then showing up. Yeah, you nailed it. And then we're gonna get through this by working together.
Yeah.
I think Carrie, you had your hand up first, and then Paula.
Hi, Kashka. Nice to see you.
Sorry
if you mentioned this during your presentation or is in one of the documents, but the list of places that you've been going seem like very Burlington area focused, which is like not one of the areas where like some of the data preliminarily on where marginalized, some of it, I'm just saying the data of where the marginalized populations are. And like when we did some of our outreach and we showed up in the Northeast Kingdom, people there were like, oh, like nobody's ever been here. We've never been asked. And then like, another anecdote I heard at a conference or a meeting I was at post flooding, is from people who were in Lamoille County. And their accounts of what happened in their community was, we were waiting for the government to come and nobody ever came. And so, they're having discussions as communities now, like, okay, we got to be prepared to spend 4 or 5 days without contact from the outside world because nobody's going to come check on us. Anyway, so there might be a way to prioritize, maybe even based on some of the communities that were hit pretty hard by the flooding.
No, and Carrie, you're absolutely right. It sucks. There's just not enough hours in the day. There's not enough people. I think that the more organizations that are doing this work, which is, we're really excited about the event that Indra is going to be putting together, where we can talk to community organizations to get them more involved in this kind of work. The way, and just like you said, these are all like Burlington based. So since we only got started in the late summer, our thought process was, I live in the old north end of Burlington, and we thought, okay, let's try to work this out in a way that we can get kind of like the prototype going in a sense. So we know, okay, we know what to bring. So now I can tell Sophie what to bring on her tabling events and how to do it and how to be present. And that's a way that now I can teach others all around Vermont to do the same thing. But I kind of did it in my own backyard kind of thing. I happen to be a frontline community member, and I have plenty of that around me. So that's why we concentrated in the Burlington area.
It was explicit. It was, we're going to get our feet underneath us with things that are closer to where Kashka lives and Ann lives. And then we are very explicitly going to go further afield. And so you'll see more of that next year. And I told Carrie, we have the same reaction. And Indra's gathering of CBOs is going to be very diverse, pulling from all over the state. So you'll see a much greater diversity from that. And the actual kinds of events we choose to go to in 2024 are going to be choosier about being further afield. And I love the idea, Carrie, of from a resilient standpoint, communities that really felt like they were paying attention to would be a nice starting point.
Absolutely. And I do want to say one other thing, Carrie. So, and I've heard this before too. So, I remember when I was doing work for capstone agencies, Indra and I were up in the Northeast Kingdom and in the NEK, and we had a pretty good turnout at this one event. But again, and you were talking to folks and they said, nobody's come out here. We're never ever going to reach 100% of folks. We're not going to reach 50% of them. We're just going to keep going and keep trying. So the more people that do this work, not just us, but community-based organizations, was that CBOs, Sophie? And others, the more of a reach there is. We have, it shouldn't be exclusive, right? It shouldn't, to me, I don't think about it as, okay, we're doing this work, so you guys don't have to, or so, perhaps we're there, so you don't have to be. No, let's show up. It doesn't matter if it's redundant. That's great. That's what we should be doing. We should be showing up. And the fact that Lamoille County had to wait for days for anybody to show up, that's so sad. That's not okay. I mean, I hear you. I hear you. I
think
we can do better.
I think that makes sense. I think it's good to do it in your backyard. where you're familiar and comfortable. And then it sounds like you're trying to put yourself out there and lead by example and hope others follow. So
Yeah,
it's
hopefully.
good.
And CBI had outlined this like sort of strategy a while back, I think at the beginning of the summer, of starting here where, you know, doing some test runs, doing some pilot runs, and then figuring out what works and branching out. So this
Exactly.
wasn't a surprise to me, but I have a question about that. But Paula is next, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, so thank you so much for putting yourself out there. And just like, I would be terrified that people would come up to me and ask me questions I didn't know the answers to, or would yell at me about climate change not being real or whatever. Like, you're so courageous. So thank you. What I saw in the report that you were planning on more geographic diversity as you go on, so I'm not worried about that. I did want to ask for a couple things. One of them is like, once you're sort of like in a rhythm doing your, you know, kind of like you're scheduling where you're going, I'd love to just know like
Mhm.
when there's going to be an opportunity in southeastern Vermont that I could be part of. So maybe there's a way to kind of like let people know a month ahead of time or whatever, just like that goes out to all the subcommittee members or something of like, okay, this is where the community engagement is happening this week or whatever, or this next month. The other thing that's coming to mind for me, and I'm sure this is like going to evolve a lot over time, but as you were talking about like capturing video and photos and you know, sound clips, I was thinking about this sort of, I just had this kind of like image in my head of real people. I think I actually participated in something like this about like family leave or something, where a real person is there and there's like a selfie booth or whatever, and they hold up a placard saying, you know, something personal to them about whatever the issue is. So it's like, you know, climate change affects me because, you know, there will be less sap in the, you know, during sugar season or whatever. And then for that to just not be like a snapshot that you take, but it's uh like a group, an album, like, or a place, like somewhere there's a website where these people who have given this feedback, who are expecting their government to act on their behalf, like they have visibility, not just to the council, but to the governor and the legislature and each other. And it's like, yeah, okay, there's step one. Like they're
Yeah.
visible, they're heard, we're looking at them, we know who they are. And then like, is there a way to take, you know, whatever the placard says or whatever the, you know, little quote, testimonial, whatever it is, and say, here's the way the new cap answers this. Like really clear that like we are responding to things real people wanted with this recommendation in the cap or with this bill that was passed, or, you know, like just close a loop a little bit. And I think that goes so far to rebuild trust. I know it's a very long term and like, you know, resource intensive potentially thing to do, but just, you know, that's just like one idea of how to do it. But the principle would be like, hear the voices and then like respond to them and say, report back, like, here's how we responded to you.
Yeah.
And for it to be just like pretty and lovely and like enticing and, you know, not just like, you know, a list of, you know, files on a state website.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that so much. I
We
love
should
it.
start doing that, Kashka. We should really do that. We'll set up have a little, like a little mini whiteboard and, you know, a question prompt and
I love
just
it.
do it. It wouldn't be hard.
And to Paula's first question, I wonder if, so we do have, like, we have like an Excel worksheet, ongoing worksheet with various events, Paula. And I wonder if we could do something, and maybe we'll talk about this more internally, if we could just send it out, you know, at the end of each month for, you know, for, how does that
Or
sound?
even like, you know, certain counselors or certain subcommittee members could just volunteer to be on a list for it. You know, it wouldn't have to get blasted out to everybody if they don't want it. But yeah, I would love to attend an event or like let you know what CBOs I think are important to invite to your thing or whatever. Like, I just would like to be able to have opportunities to be part of that. Yeah.
Can I have your email address, please? That's wonderful.
Yes,
No,
I'll
that's
get, I don't
fabulous.
actually know it. I'm gonna get you my official climate council email
Your
address
partner
and
would.
put it in the chat, okay?
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
and
you.
I have it too. I'm sure I have. I
Oh
must.
yeah, yeah, David has it. David has it. Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you
that's how
for
we,
listening to
that's
me.
how we, yeah, that's how we build this. And different
Yeah.
ideas. What a great idea, Paula. That's
Mhm.
awesome. I love it. And, you know, with social media, etc. I mean, imagine obviously people who really want to be seen. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. I'm not saying everybody, but the people who want and need to be heard and seen, what a wonderful way to showcase that they matter. And then having that additional thing, like this is, you know, this is what we've been hearing from people, and this is how that information was taken and actually used to affect policy or to affect whatever it may be. Yeah, that's great. I love it. Any other questions?
Yeah, I had a question, but I also was thinking about this selfie booth idea. I was thinking about, you know, weddings I've been to where it's like, here's my fake mustache, or here's my, you know, glasses for 2024 or whatever. But I was like, wait, it could actually, like, there might be something here where it could be like some sort of climate change related, how you're feeling, or like, you know, emojis or something. I don't know. I would just like putting that out there, out into the, see if you can, I don't know enough about this stuff, but I love that idea, Paula. That's awesome.
Mhm.
My question was more related to how can we help find some of those community events that where, like, what I keep learning the longer I've lived up in Franklin County is that the events that everyone goes to aren't necessarily the events that you would like find by Googling. So how can we help you find the events where people are going to congregate and they'd be good ones to chat and talk to people? Because there's some really cool local events up here and folks come from all around, and there's one where I just found out about it because how did I not know this was happening? But it's a huge event. People come all around, and happens once a month, and I think it's also like coming out of COVID and things not happening.
Mhm.
People's habits are changing, but anyway, how do we help you guys find those events? How do we know what's the kind of thing you want to be showing up at? And then, you know, piggybacking on what Paula said, can we help you know, by being there and showing up? But and like, just where do you need help with finding those things, especially in the more rural areas where there might not be community-based organizations that are holding big events? So
So this is where you guys actually could hugely help us, Kelly. I absolutely love this. And just like Paula was asking about like the event calendar, something that we have going on internally. So we do need help with that. And you're right, because it's not something that you're going to find Googling. You're not going to, you know, what are we going to do? Get local papers from every single county or every single little town in Vermont? No. So how are we going to do this? So one way is getting together with all these different separate organizations. But another way is having people from all these different areas in Vermont being able to put something into, to put data or an event into our little spreadsheet that we have going, so that we can go ahead and table an event in Franklin County that we had no idea existed. That would be fantastic. And hopefully you have my cell phone number too, so you can always text me and let me know about it. I'm not even kidding. It's the best way. And I really try to make the time, because I do think it's important. We can, it's a small state. We could get each other together, you know, we can build this back up. And yeah.
I think in terms of the criteria of like, what are we looking for? it's really put your just transitions hat on, right? Which is we're
Mhm.
most interested in reaching people who are least likely to be involved, right? And or who have suffered, historic marginalization, right? And so you all have been talking about those kinds of communities for a while. So those are the kinds of communities we're looking to reach. It's pretty broad, right? Because it includes rural, low-income communities. It includes, BIPOC communities. It includes all kinds of different communities, right? But that's really our main goal. We're going to be doing some really broad-based sort of come one, come all stuff, whether it's virtual or some in person, to capture even broader groups of Vermonters. But for showing up at events and things like that, we really want to be targeting communities that aren't typically engaged and involved in our frontline communities.
Yeah, that's helpful. And part of what I'm thinking about is, it's a pretty rural area where I live.
Yeah, Franklin County.
Right, but we don't necessarily have a lot of your typical, we don't have a lot of BIPOC individuals up here, but we do, right? So we have some, but not compared to the Burlington area, right? So I'm just trying to think about, but there are a lot of folks who probably wouldn't ever show up for a climate, and that's where I think
Or
you're
low-income individuals, right, Kelly? It's sort of
your whole idea of show up where people are. Everyone's busy, they've got a lot going on. If you show up at an event that people are already at, and in my mind, I'm thinking about events where there's time and space to talk to people, and they're there to chat and learn, and it's like a farmer's market maybe, or something like that, but not quite a farmer's market. Those are good events. So I'd love to hear more about how we can suggest things. And if you have those criteria clear, and maybe even a way to say who's going to be there, what's the layout, what's the venue look like, how do we, what are we going to expect when we get there? I think that's helpful. For me to think about different places that I've been and what I could picture. And I'm also happy to help out if I'm not busy tabling for my business or something else. Girl Scouts,
No, that's great. I'll come table at Girl Scouts.
Yeah, we have an awesome group up here.
There you go. I mean, they get the word out.
Yeah. Well, this is how I'm learning about all these things I didn't know about, because, so anyway, I see Sophie has her hand up, and I also want to just be attentive to time and make sure we get other questions as well if we want to. Yeah, please, Sophie.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody for their input and acknowledge that we want to keep hearing your ideas. From everything from Mona talking about the newsletter, to Paula talking about joining an event, to Kelly talking about providing ideas for events, to are we gonna have whiteboards, are we gonna have photos? All of it is welcome, and we're here in a meeting with 45 minutes to talk about it, and this is the work of years and so many people, so please keep the ideas coming. I hope this is just the start of the conversation, and that we can continue to collaborate on this work together. And it's only going to be better the more ideas and the more input that we get. So just wanted to make sure you all know that we definitely want to keep hearing from you. I think you have, sounds like a lot of people have Kashka's information. You have my information. So let's keep the conversation going, and all ideas welcome.
Love that. The more I do this, the more I think we just need to figure out how we can keep working together. So that's why we're here tonight. Any other things, David or Kashka, or questions for David and Kashka?
I'm taking away clear requests, right, of what's been said, of we want to have you all want to have greater visibility of what's happening. We need to create some pathways so that you can continue to provide input. And there's great ideas like the photo with the signage is amazing. We can absolutely implement that. You use our quarterly report as one way to communicate with the people who've given us their emails. And I think there's an open question about how we're engaging youth. We don't have that puzzle solved. And if folks have interesting organizations you think might be an interesting partner organization on that, we'd welcome that. We don't really have a super clear pathway in addition to sort of organically doing it or Kashka being invited to do stuff. So we're open to that. So those are some of the clear takeaways I'm taking from this. And I really appreciate all the input.
And David, maybe we could internally discuss how perhaps we could have, somebody come in and join the Just Transitions meeting maybe once a month for a few minutes to see if there's anything, anything further that they want to share. And maybe we could share, like I said, some form of spreadsheet where anybody can go in and pull in some events that are happening around their area, wherever that may be in Vermont, so that we have an opportunity to table at those events. And we could go from there as well.
That's great. Super. Okay. All right, folks. I am getting insistent texts from my daughter who I promised to go buy a dress for her middle school dance tomorrow. So I gotta go. I am in.
That's exciting. I hope she
Nice
has a
seeing you,
wonderful
David.
time.
All
Thank
right.
you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for the conversation. It's so great. Take care,
Thanks,
everybody.
David.
Thanks.
Yeah. Bye.
All right, wonderful.
So I don't know if do you guys still need me, Kelly?
Well, if you're able to stick around for just a little bit longer, this is not for public comment, but also if you need to run, that's totally acceptable because this was the end of your time.
No, I'll stay, especially.
Great.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Yeah, no, if you have a few minutes, I think that'd be wonderful. Yeah, so anyway, public comment. We don't have a ton of people here, but Stephen, you, again, putting you on the spot, but you said that you had some questions and things, but if you had anything else that remained unanswered or anything you wanted to say or ask, then this would be a great time.
Yeah, I do have actually a couple questions that didn't end up getting answered. First one is, Kashka, is there a way I could get a copy of that PowerPoint that was put up a little bit ago? Because that'd be helpful for our purposes. One of the things that we're doing is, to give you more explanation as to why I'm here beyond just being at the law school, is the Transnational Partnership works with partners in international communities. Specifically, my program is working with partners in Fujian, China.
Okay.
And they're talking about how you can interact implementation of climate policy and just transition policy and nature-based solution policy at a local and municipal level, as opposed to at a provincial level, which would be the equivalent of our states or regions.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why we're here to see how Vermont's doing it, to see what actions are being taken on this local level, so we can see how that can be translated and applied to the context of China and specifically Fujian province, which shares a lot of characteristics that are similar to Vermont, as in the fact they're a lot of small business, a lot of rural nature of, as rural as China gets. And so that's why we're looking at that. So that'd be helpful, because if I had that PowerPoint, I could then translate that to Chinese, and then your work would be seen by not just people here, but some people at Greenhome Fujian, as well as the Procuratorate in China there.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. So should I bill you? So let me see. So selfie, blah, 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 blah. Can you send your email through the chat by any chance?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Stephen. That's really cool. So we should be doing this worldwide. Like, we need to be doing this. We need to be doing better. Like, yeah. Okay. Sorry.
It's quite all right. The next question I would have is, when we were talking a lot about the community-based organizations. Does anyone have like a list or a rundown of a few of them that are already engaged, like these frontline organizations, or the community-based organizations that the climate counselor is working with? Has that already been developed, or is that something like a work in progress of who all is a partner or a working group?
So we have a list going for us that actually my partner, well, Indra, who some of you know, I think he's in Nepal currently, so he has a running list going. As of right now, I'm not sure who has decided to join our meeting at this point, but I know the climate council has been working with their own organizations, and organizations have often showed up at the climate council meetings in order to get input for their community and for the work that they're doing themselves. So the short answer is no. I don't have a list. There's obviously the capstone community engagement. I mean, the capstone agencies are one that are typically engaged in this type of work. Was it 350 Vermont? Was it 360 Vermont? Oh my gosh. CVOEO.
It's 350.
It's 350.
350, yeah. Also, and I was gonna say, Sophie might actually be able, I mean, you just started in the role, but Sophie, do you have like a running list at the Climate Action Office of organizations that you've heard from, worked with, or?
Organizations who are like starting to be in touch with, I'll just name one, which is All Brains Belong, who sponsored the festival that we were at in October, which might have been just of the same name, All Brains Belong, reached out to us to join in one of their, they have like semi-weekly meetings, and we've got this long running list. How many is it? It's like about 60 organizations of like ideas of organizations to connect with. So I put in the chat, like, aside from one-off events, if you think of an organization that would be right for us to connect with, we don't have like a clear sort of game plan for approaching each of those organizations, aside from like keeping an eye on what events they're doing. But building that list is the first step. I mean, actually, I'm just speaking from what I know. Kashka may know more about a plan
Well, and I can also say from my history with the Climate Council and this subcommittee that we've had various different, running lists that are a lot of times populated by people saying, oh, have you reached out to who? This person. I don't know that I could put my hand on one of them, but there's a ton of great organizations that we've communicated with in different ways. A lot of them aren't necessarily going to be like, I'm connected with the Climate Council and doing work with them, because that's got a whole lot of complexity that goes with it, because the Climate Council is part of the state government. And then but we've definitely communicated with, had help from, had communication from a ton of different organizations. And that's where I think we have sort of a running list of folks who've given public comment and things like that. And then when the outreach happened, I know before CBI was the public outreach contract, before they had that public outreach contract, there was another organization that had identified various different groups to reach out to. And so again, I'm not sure it's all in one place, but that's a really good question.
Okay.
Yeah, there are many, as you know, that exist. So,
and then I guess my last question would be, there's a couple other people that are working with me. One is Julie O, and then also Christina Ramsey, as I mentioned. We also have one, Jianping Wu, who's a scholar from Fujian Green Home in China, and she's here taking an LM at the law school, but she's also working with us. And so I was wondering, is there going to be a link to access the recording of this meeting so that they'll be able to do that? Because she needs to, when Jianping does it, she needs to use a translation function to get a lot of it, because I can tell you from experience that Chinese to English and back and forth is not exactly a clean translatory process.
Yes, there will be. So all of our meetings and resources and things like the agenda, they're published on the climate change, I think it's climatechange.vermont.gov. Is that correct?
Okay, so just on the main within that.
Yeah, so if
there.
you go into the website, there's the calendar, and if you go to the past, you can find past meetings. So after this has been like fully recorded and published, you'll be able to find it there, and other resources.
Okay, excellent.
So yeah, excellent. No, that's really cool. And I'm really now curious because some of my favorite tea is from Fujian province. And so I hope that they work on keeping their climate the same because they make great tea. But no, that's a really cool connection. That's cool. And I'm so glad you were here. There you go. Thank
That's
you.
excellent. Awesome. And I don't have any more questions. So, and I don't have any particular comments at the moment. So I'm a transplant. I'm not from Vermont. So
where are you from originally?
I'm from Flatland. I'm from the middle of the country, Iowa, which I'm sure everyone gets confused with 2 other states all the time.
Wait,
Ohio.
Okay.
Where in Iowa?
Well, originally it was the northwest of state, Pocahontas County, but then moved down to the Des Moines area for a while. So,
all right, I lived in Des Moines for almost 4 years. So,
okay.
Yeah.
How long ago? Like, because now I have to judge your knowledge of Iowa.
Oh yeah, well we'll chat after the recording is over.
Okay.
I don't want to get embarrassed. No, that's awesome. We have some amazing friends out in that area, so I kind of miss it. There's some similarities between Iowa and Vermont too. So
the way I described it is that Iowa is a flat green and Vermont's a spherical green.
I love that. I've never heard that before. That's great. Excellent. Well, thank you. Yeah, no, I'm glad you're here, and I'd love to chat about Des Moines at length. Let's see, last thing here is just anything to wrap up. I think just talking about our next meeting, and if there was any lingering anything lingering about, last things. Next month is December, and theoretically it would be the 21st. Yeah, that doesn't seem right. Yeah, that seems wrong. I also believe that is the winter solstice, like all kinds of reasons not to do that. So what we'll do, if we were to move it 1 week earlier, just for the folks here, to the 14th, is that possible, or should we consider just skipping? Okay, so 14th.
I can do the 14th. And isn't there a council meeting on the 18th? Maybe that's going to get changed too, but I think there's one scheduled.
Yeah,
Unless that's like an ancient thing I
you're right.
saved a long time ago in it. Okay.
It is on the 18th.
Okay. Carrie, Anna, would you
probably do the 14th. It is the next to last night of Hanukkah. I don't know if you're comfortable doing something in the evening in Hanukkah, but
it gets crazy. And then I just saw, I have something else I just put on the wrong time. I put something 4:30 a.m. on that Friday. Sophie, any immediate concerns with the 14th? We'll want to circle back with other folks.
I don't have my calendar up, but just a reminder that this is not an obligation for anybody to attend, but just for your awareness, if you want to attend it, that there's also this opportunity on the 11th, which we'll send around for folks to join in and speak up about the federal funding opportunity.
It's on the, I already got the invite from Jane earlier.
Saw that. Okay.
Yeah, Kelly, you could cancel the December meeting too. Just knowing it's a lot.
That might be the better way to go. But at least getting a sounding from folks here. yeah, there's just a lot of holidays. So, okay, great. And then any other business, maybe we'll meet in the new year. I think that might not be a bad idea.
Quick
Yeah,
question,
cool.
if we, I don't actually know what's on the agenda for the Climate Council, but do we know what we will report if we're supposed to report something? I mean, it seems like, yeah, there's not
Yeah,
a ton, like the guiding, maybe just remind people of the guiding principles and say, we're working on, you know, integrating this into the process, or.
what I'd like to do, if we, this makes sense, if we decide not to meet in December as a full subcommittee, I think it would be good to convene that working group to put together some preliminary guidelines, like just recommendations about how to use the guiding principles. So
Yeah.
that would probably be a better use of the next couple, you know, the next 8 weeks or whatever. And then we can meet again in January. Let me just double check. Let's see, January, we'd be on the 18th. I don't see anything. That's like a pretty normal time in January. So that wasn't the day of our in-person climate council meeting, was it? Or the same week?
I don't know.
So
I don't have the, I feel like I saw something about a January in-person meeting, but I don't have it on my calendar yet.
I saw it and it was mentioned earlier and I don't remember what day that was. So
yeah.
Anyway, those are my thoughts.
Well, the Monday is MLK Day, so it probably wouldn't be that same week.
No, I don't. Good point.
Yeah.
Anyway, so if we did our working group to come up with some guidance around how we hope people will use the Just Transitions guiding principles, that between now and then January 18th would be our next actual full meeting. I think that would probably be the best use of everyone's time. So for those who are here, which isn't most of us, if that sounds good, let's do that. And we can send out an email and just make sure that that seems good for folks. Cool. Any other questions, comments, last thoughts?
It was so good to be here with you guys.
Thanks for coming, Kashka. It's always nice to see you.
Yeah,
and,
no,
and
seriously.
Stephen, thanks for joining us. And I'm glad that you got most of your questions answered, and the work you're doing sounds really cool. Love to hear more about it.
Yeah, and thanks you guys. Thank all of you, especially for the comments and the questions. And I really look forward to getting something together so that we can have a spreadsheet going of events and even seeing you in person at events and just doing this type of work, which is really, really important. So thank you.
That's
you.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, let us know how we can keep helping. Thank you for all the work you're doing, getting out there.
Excellent. And can you get me into the email like for the next meeting, just in case, like once you guys finalize the date?
Yeah.
Just so that if I have anything else to share and see if you guys have come up with any other new ideas that are so great.
I just keep thinking we just need to keep working together as much as possible, and it's just a lot to coordinate, but I think we can do it.
I think so too.
And transplants we're all tough. We can do this.
Even flatlanders.
Yes, even flatlanders.
All right, bye you guys.
All right, thanks folks. Have a great night.
Bye. Thank you
everyone.
Thank you.